clown virgins, clown virgins. We're getting together to make the world better. Clown virgins, clown virgins. We'll make you laugh and play, we'll take your blues away.
Hi everyone, welcome to this panel, Clowning at the Crossroad of Tradition and Innovation. And it's an event called a Butterfly Sessions. My name is Olivier, I'll be one also of the speakers. And I've been asked, as you understood, to act also as a moderator. And I've been asked also to start by reading this to you. So I think so you understand. I'm French speaking, French Canadian, so please be considerate. I will do my best to pronounce properly. So here we go about the butterfly sessions. Butterflies are not only elegant and mesmerizing, they are pollinators, connectors, and subtle stewards of life. With each delicate wing beat, they whisper ancient wisdom about transformation, ephemerality, and interdependence. Yet over the past 4 decades, butterfly populations have dwindled. Species like the monarch hover on the edge of extinction, and as they vanish, so too do many of our sacred species, languages, traditions, and ways of knowing. But what if, in the spirit of the clown, we could turn toward this heartbreak not with despair, but with courageous, creative expressions? What if we could meet difficult situations like that of the butterfly with outrageous tenderness? In these talks, we will hear from individuals and groups who are doing just that, working to re-enliven, reconnect, and re-engage through applying practices and horror perspectives found in clowning. Like the clown, these individuals embrace vulnerability, disrupt the status quo, and dance joyfully on the edges of the possible. Their work, while shared individually, is part of a much larger global movement, a kind of distributed flock of beautiful butterfly fools flitting across borders and boundaries. These talks are offered as a pollination points, reminders that even small gestures can ripple outward. There are invitations to listen deeply, to laugh bravely, and to step into the fertile unknown where healing and renewal begin. So here we go. I didn't wrote this. I've just been asked to read this beautiful text as an introduction. So understand that convergence is at its core a questioning of what could be or what should be the function of clowning in our actual world. So this panel will consider clowning at the crossroad of tradition and innovation, and we will hear from Danise Payne. I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. Thank you, Paul, for the support. Joanna Bassi, myself, Olivier-Hugues Terreault, and Chris Lynam. All right. And correct me if I'm pronouncing any name wrongly, please. So we will have 90 minutes. It's already started. First, each panelist will share for around 10 minutes about their project vision. I've been asked to really check on this. So I will announce when there's going to be 2 minutes left, 1 minute, and time to conclude. And then, depending of the time we will have at the end, maybe a 10 to 20 minutes Q&A. And what is proposed is that you all going to be able to choose a breakout room, and so you can go and discuss about whatever theme really piqued your interest or is aligned more with your work. And then we're all going to get back together for the conclusion and hear some last words from each of the speaker. So now we will dive first already with Danise Payne, and who's going to be speaking about the survival of the traditional clown. And I've been asked to present a little bit shortly. Danise was a circus clown with 25 years experience and has performed with 5 circuses and became the first Black woman clown in a circus in Europe. And she's a member of the Circus Fan Association of America, the Circus Historical Society, and the Screen Actors Guild. So here we go, Dennis. 10 minutes.
Thank you, Olivier. And yes, you did say my name right, Danise Payne. I've heard different kinds of things from Daisy to Denise. But anyway, no, it's Danise Payne. And I'm very happy to be here with Clown Virgins to talk about the survival of the traditional clown. I'm going to start with this. I have some notes on the side that you'll see my eyes glance at every once in a while so I can keep my train of thought. But I'll start with this. Otto Griebling, Emmett Kelly Sr., Lou Jacobs, Peggy Williams, Skeeter Reese, Annie Fratellini, Grok. Who are these people? Clowns. And they wore makeup, traditional clown makeup, whether it was Auguste, white-faced character, or an amalgamation of those. But they did all wear makeup. Now, to me, that is what a traditional clown is, a traditional clown. There are others that do not wear makeup, but a traditional clown in my mind is one who wears one of those makeups or a form of those makeups. Now, anyone can get out there in the ring and put makeup on and wear a funny costume, wear a funny wig or huge shoes and get out there and do a gag or skit, do a gag. But all those who do so are not clowns. It takes a lot of talent. I think it's a God-given gift to be able to get out there and to make people that are used to hearing things on TV or seeing things as they walk by. It's a God-given gift to make people, to have the ability to make people laugh. And for me, again, my name is Danise Payne, and I have had 25 years as a career as a traditional circus clown. I worked on Ringling Brothers. I started out actually in 1978 at Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College. From there, that was a long time ago. From there, I worked on the red unit and the blue unit of Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. I worked on the LA Circus, which stayed just basically in the Los Angeles area. I worked on a show that was predominantly African-American called Universal Big Top Circus for many, many years. I worked on George Corona's show where we worked just within the interior of the United States. I worked on Jerry Cottle Circus in England. That's where I became that first African-American woman clown to work in a circus in Europe. All of those gave me a chance to use the makeup to be identified as a clown. And even with that, as an African-American woman clown, it was very difficult because I had many instances where kids came up to me and, "You're not a clown," and moved away from me to the next person. It is extremely important to me that all those who wear makeup, who are given that gift by God to be a clown, to be recognized as being a traditional circus clown. Now, how do you do that? And why is it necessary to do that? It's important because circuses and other shows are getting away, I believe, from using clown because of the times. I've had people where I've tried to get speaking engagements. I've had people, say to me, well, I hate circuses. I hate clowns. All of this, it gets to you and you want to know what is going on, what is happening, and how you can change all of that. The best way in my mind to do that is to get yourself out there, to do podcasts, to write your memoir, let people know that you're there, make them hear you. Also, do things such as, Clown Virgins. Extremely important to have events like this, but not just for this, the performing community. Have townies click in and listen to hear what all of us have to say. Make them hear you, make them hear you. Now, the way that I see that traditional clowning and circuses are going, it's very difficult now because I've been to some shows within the past year where there are no clowns. Obviously, a lot of them do not have animals also, but a lot of them do not have clowns. They have what they call comedic performers. There's nothing wrong with that. Same tree, different branch. but there's nothing wrong with having comedic performers, but there's nothing wrong with having the traditional circus clown either. When I was on the LA circus, I had a chance to actually perform. Dick Monday was one of the coordinators of that show. Excellent, excellent show. One of the things that he allowed us to do was to experiment. And I decided one day, for one particular performance where we were going to be performing, one area of Los Angeles, was to not use makeup. I wanted to see what it would be like to just wear my costume. I wore a dress. I'll show you what this is. I don't know how to put this as a on besides doing this. That's one of my lady characters. I don't know how to put the slides on the computer. I'm kind of computer illiterate, but that was one of my costumes. And I wore that without the makeup. And when we were getting ready to perform, I'm standing beside the stage, going back and forth with, beside the ring, going back and forth with Dick Monday. And I heard a little boy up in the audience say, "Don't pay her any mind. That's a crazy lady." I didn't have the makeup. He couldn't identify the fact that I was a circus clown. Right then and there, I still did that without the makeup for like that run of that particular area, which was a couple of days. But after that, I was cured. I said, that's it. I'm going to keep the makeup. And I brought the makeup. I brought the makeup back, and it remained as my makeup for 25 years. My character changed because I wanted to be identified as being a woman clown. A lot of times people think that I'm a man, that I was cross-dressing, because that's what they associate with clown, is basically white male clown. Not me. This is my character that I ended up using for the rest of my time. Sorry about this clunk clunk. This Granny clown, and that was my clown dog, Sad Sack the Wonder Dog. It's important to me because to have to use the makeup, because that, number one, that's what I am, a traditional circus clown. And a lot of times when I see that shows are not, they're choosing to not use professional circus clowns with the makeup and getting away from that, it's important to me because I feel like without the makeup, and this also goes along with the idea of the circus. Without the makeup, I feel like I was walking the high wire over an abyss without a pole or a net. I feel like that is what has been happening with a traditional clown. How do we prevent that? That I do not have the answer for, except to say, get out there. Again, do podcasts, do clown virgins, let townies know. And let them know how the importance of being a traditional circus clown. Tell them about the hospital visits. Tell them about the tours that we did for blind kids, or if you've done any for blind kids, having them see what your nose is with their hands, having them see the size of your feet with their hands. The reactions are precious. Just do talks with different community organizations. Let them know who you are. Let them know that you are out there. Let them know the importance and the relationship between the traditional circus clown and circus. Let it stay there. I'm going to end with something that I wrote. I did write a memoir. It's called Elbows in My Ears, and it came out in 2022, but I'm going to end with the poem that I wrote on there. It's at the very last page, and it's called Gone, G-O-N-E. First sawdust an elephant to come along, I'm back on the tan bark trail, gone. All slapstick props, memories, and clothes I'll pack away in an elephant's nose. Take that trunk, Billy, grab your horn, leave monotony behind, we're circus born. The song is a gallop, extra work, cherry pie, see you down the road, our way for goodbye. I leave this life of townie behind and travel around for a time and a time. A Donecker is toilet. To disappear, pull a creep. With your elbows in your ears is the only way to sleep. Miss it? You bet. Love it? Sure do. Popcorn's on the midway, they yell. Ballyhoo. Load up the wagon, boys. We move out tonight. Lower down the cupola and pack it up real tight. One behind the other, the jump won't be too long. We'll disappear tomorrow on the wings of a calliope song. Gone, gone, gone. To me, it's important that we are there. Those that use the makeup, those that are not, Either way, it's important, especially in this day, in this time, what we see happening all around the world, that the people can know that they can laugh. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to see traditional clowns with makeup. It's okay to see an elephant with a funny hat. It's okay. It's okay. Clowns, traditional clowns.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Great. And it's going to be quite interesting now to make the shift from, you know, traditional clowning that you were advocating for. Thank you so much. And going to artificial intelligence and clown, quite a jump, with now Joanna Bassi. I hope it's okay. Great. And Joanna Bassi is a renowned clown performer, director, and teacher with decades of experience in physical theater and circus arts. And coming from a legendary circus family, she combines tradition and innovation to create heartfelt and humorous performances that resonate across culture. So Joanna also mentors emerging artists, inspiring the next generation of performers. So now for you, Joanna.
That's really nice to hear that. I hope I'm inspiring the next generation. Very generous as a presentation. Anyway, so thanks for being here. And I have to say I really appreciated what Danise has just exposed there. And it is true that probably the biggest challenge today is to get people to laugh, people who are used to watching screens. And I think that's an enormous challenge today. And, you know, clowns are probably the people who have to endorse that responsibility. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the AI from the point of view of a clown. Not that I'm an expert in artificial intelligence, but I got the idea of this subject the other day because I'm in Berlin, and in Berlin the clown scene is actually in a nice way growing, and we do organize in person some clown cafes, and we just discuss. We have nice conversations together. And one day, a few weeks ago, one of my colleagues said, well, that's something we don't have to worry about. The AI technology, clowns are immune to that danger. And suddenly I started to think about that. And I thought, well, you know, maybe graphic designers thought they were immune. Maybe translators thought they were immune. So, you know, maybe clowns have to beware of the use of AI. Now, just to be brief, the idea behind AI is to enhance first imitate the human intelligence and probably enhance it, which means that AI can learn, can make decisions, and therefore can invent. So my worry was maybe later in the future when people look back and type in the computer clown, they will fall on some kind of model which has entirely been invented, at least the imagery, by a computer. And I think it comes in, AI comes in where inspiration fails. That being said, a couple of years ago, when I first heard about AI, you know, ChatGPT, whatever platform, I envisaged this, let's say, this tool as a clown would. And coming from a traditional family, tradition of a circus family, I remembered that in circus, anything which is new technology was immediately endorsed. And instead of being afraid of it, clowns would immediately use any novelty to do parodies. So a couple of years ago, I thought, well, I'm going to do a parody of an AI clown. And so I built this, at first, a short act, and where in the end, every trick, it was a voiceover, and I was executing what the machine was telling me what to do. And the AI is actually the synthesis of the best model or the best probability of anything you asked. So if you ask for a very good gag, it will come up with something. So that was how I would think about it. So in the act, I had this voice suggesting jokes and different tricks. And of course, none of them were funny. And most of them were trying to kill me. So it was an act which I was very happy about. I thought, okay, so I'm doing it in the traditional way, like you would see circus clowns, you know, when not knowing how to work a fridge, or coming on with a car which breaks into pieces, or, you know, this kind of traditional approach. And so I thought everybody had this kind of reference, and they would immediately understand that I was mocking the AI and doing a traditional act in the end. But it didn't happen like that. I played it on a few open stages at first here in Berlin. Then I was invited to a couple of festivals in particularly in Italy and also in Finland. And it was the same whether in one country or the other, and even in Germany. People would take it extremely seriously. Like I thought it was like hilarious, you know, but they thought it was almost tragic. And instead of making people laugh with this thing, it created an enormous discussion. And so I thought, well, no, this is something I didn't, you know, plan. I wanted people to laugh, but I realized that at least 2 years ago, it was something that the public was fearing, and I wanted to break this fear and you know and turn it into something funny. And you don't have to fear it; you have to know how to use it, etc., etc. So I stopped this act because I didn't want all this discussion and stuff. You know, I'm more spontaneous than that. I want a joke to be a joke and people laugh. And I realized that a couple of years later, like now, everybody or a lot of people know how to use AI, and probably now because they are less fearful and they're using the tool, I could bring this act out again and they would understand what I'm trying to do and laugh in a very, let's say, elementary way. You know, it was a very childish type of thing, but with in the end, a very sophisticated subject. I didn't realize it was like that. So after this experience, I thought, well, what's going to happen? Actually, maybe we should take this seriously, besides the act, because as I said before, in just try to project in a few generations, if you consider at what speed things are moving, I tried the other day to type the word AI clown, and
Minutes.
I beg your pardon?
Just 2 minutes, just to let you know.
Oh, and some horrible pictures came up, some, you know, at least the imagery of these clowns with horrible makeup and really frightening. And I thought, well, I hope this doesn't become the model. like, because we have to know that everything will go through AI, and probably the clown is the last bastion to avoid and to be very genuine and not use the tool to invent, but to rely on his own, free inspiration. I think I'm almost, almost done here. Let me check if I had something very, oh yes, and oh yeah, and in conclusion, I just hope, because there's also the public on the other side who is using AI, and I just hope that on the long run, we won't be reduced to having to make robots laugh. That's my conclusion. And by the way, hello, Chris. Leo sends his regards. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. Thank you
Welcome.
so much. This is great. Wow. All right. So now we're gonna go to me. Sorry about that. So my little talk would be about changing society one play partner at a time. And so my name is Olivier, and as I said, I'm French Canadian, Quebecois. I lived also in Brazil for many years, and now I'm living in the south of France. I am a social clown, a social entrepreneur, and a meditation teacher. So I'm especially a therapeutic clown, or what people would call a healthcare clown. But in Canada, we like the term therapeutic clown. So I used clowning to heal and connect individuals and communities in crisis. I'm speaking with more than 25 years of experience clowning in healthcare settings, and I work especially in pediatric and geriatric, and help co-found in various organizations around the world promoting resilience through playfulness. And I would like my work to embody the belief that joy and compassion are powerful forces for healing. So many times I've been asked what 25 years of healthcare clowning taught me. And I learned to move gradually from a more traditional, spectacular approach of clowning, where I was more the center of attention, to develop a much more innovative way for clowning, making great use of all my clown's clumsiness and awkwardness, but not just to entertain here the spectator, which is a patient, but to go beyond and what it means to empower a spectator. What does it mean to empower a patient? To empower him or her with what? And in healthcare settings, it can be so with infants, children, teenagers, adults, seniors, the dying. And in general, in healthcare, they have this center of attention about quantity of life, but it's also about quality of life. And so clowns are such an important, more and more aspect of our healthcare services. And quantity of life is something that is very easy to measure, but how do we define quality of life, and how would a clown would influence it? So during my years of living in Brazil, I was part of what is called a social lab, where people from all walks of life are building collaborative ways to improve our society. And we question deeply, deeply this notion of quality of life, because what would quality of life be exactly? Is it something really only for each individual to define, even something that would change during all our life, depending on the context that is always changing. But the more we dug, we all came together to a very obvious conclusion for us all. We understand that whatever are the external conditions of our lives, and it could be at home, it could be at work, could be in a healthcare setting, could be anywhere, we do have a sense of quality of life when we feel to be a resilient person, a compassionate person, and a creative person. A resilient, compassionate, and creative being. And when we can identify ourselves with these qualities, we can say that despite everything, we do have a life of quality. But without these, we are depriving ourselves of quality of life. And so now this is where I was trying to understand better the function for me of the clown. And how do we help someone being able to develop a sense of being resilient, a sense of being compassionate, a sense of being creative? How do we bring this into a healthcare setting? And something that was very important in life and in the clown world for me is that without failure, how do we know that we are resilient? Without failure, how do we know that we are compassionate? Without failure, how do we know we are creative? And so to be resilient, if we never failed, if we always getting it right from the first time, how do we know that we are actually really resilient, that we can stand up again and again and again, and despite repetitive failure, we still try again? And for compassion, if we never fail, never experience the pain of failure, the shame of failing, how can we pop out our arrogance bubble? Be humble and really feel compassionate for others, understanding what it is to go through failure, to go through pain and shame. And creativity, again, if we never failed, never got to try again and try again and try again and change and try new things until finally it works, how do we exactly know that we're not just repeating ourselves and that we are actually creative? And so my understanding was to identify ourselves as resilient and compassionate and creative. So we do need failures. And failure is generally what brought people, patients, into a healthcare settings. And for me, this is where the clown is coming in, because in my understanding, the clown is the artist of failure. And what I was discovering is that through my clown being so embracing being a failure, embracing being in a vulnerable state, embracing to not being able to make things work, is creating a room for the patient to understand. Oh, this person is embracing, this creature is embracing completely his clumsiness, his vulnerability, his limitation. And then it kind of resonates with what's going on in the life of this patient. And also the clown, in my understanding, in the healthcare settings, so is in need and is finding a way for the patient to get out being a patient and being there for the clown. So it changing completely the road. Like everybody, the family, the staff are all there to help the patient. And the clown is bringing a possibility, I'm in need. Can you help me? And changing completely the outlook that the patient is no more the person in need, but it's the person compassionate. And through the game, it's even the person who gets in charge and becomes creative and can impact on the clown and feeling that, wow, I'm having an actual positive impact. And so to experience this with infants, to experience this with children, with teenagers, adults, seniors, especially seniors living like with Alzheimer, disease. And just having this notion that suddenly, because of the clown presence, they completely change the way they see themselves and identify now to a very resilient and compassionate and creative person. And for me, this is how I understood that the clown can empower, and one patient at a time. And I understand now that I see the clown in our modern actual society to be the one that cannot save anyone, but that can be saved by anyone. That anyone can feel empowered in the presence of clown, can find through playfulness, can find a way that suddenly, hey, I can take care of this very clumsy, goofy, stupid, awkward, inadequate creature, and having a very like an actual impact, positive connection, where I could see the clown has been impacted by my presence. And for me, this is what was the most incredible experience to see in the eye of an hospitalized child, to just feel, wow, I impacted that clown. I helped that clown. To see someone with dementia coming out of the confusion and being able to just feel, I impacted this clown. So I still have a purpose. And so that was it for me. And these were my 10 minutes. Thank you all for your support all the time. And on a great therapeutic clown in Canada. And now, the last and certainly, of course, not the least, Christ Lynam, and will let us know more about his 52 years of clowning. Wow, so Christ Lynam is a celebrated clown, comedian, and physical theater artist known for his surreal, boundary-pushing performances. With a career spanning over 4 decades, he has entertained audiences worldwide with his inventive and provocative acts. And Chris continues to inspire performers with his fearless approach to comedy and theater. So please, Chris.
The thing about tomorrow and yesterday is all relative, and it's all going to be much clearer when AI starts telling us about what we said yesterday and showing us what we might say tomorrow. Sorry, I'm just going off the rails there. I haven't really prepared anything, so except that it is kind of you know, yes, 52 years, and I worked a lot in that period. But what I found in the last 5 or 10 years is getting more and more difficult to, maybe it's because I'm not a nice clown. People want to see nice clowns. I'm this nasty guy. So I'm struggling to get work, really. But it would be, yeah, I think it would be nice to be able to have the platform to do the kind of things that I've managed to be doing, you know, very funny. I've been very, very funny for a lot, but a lot of it. I guess, yeah, I should have prepared something really. Well, I didn't. So, tough tooties. Well, I could tell you, yeah, maybe that's the thing, is I've got to get back on the street because, you know, when I first started, I just woke up one morning and said, I want to be a clown. And so there's no history of it in the family or anywhere. Did the Eisteddfod school when I was a kid. That was about it. But so I was 20 and I'm going to be a clown. What do you do? Oh, applied for a place at the only school I knew of at that time was Jacques Lecoq School in Paris. One of 80 places out of 3,000 applicants. I got, but with the acceptance came the demand for the first year's fees of a 2-year course, which was 2,000 francs a term, a year. Well, I spent a month trying to get it and failed because I was a hippie squatter, having lots of fun. And so I started playing in the street, and that was the most successful and happy time of my life. was just fantastic. So the reason I told that story is maybe that's what I've got to do, is get back onto the street, because it's the most honest place to go and play, really. You know, you don't have to pass any auditions, you don't have to, and people will stop if you're funny or if you're interesting or whatever it is. So yeah, I think that's the way forward. Any questions? No, it's not questions time yet, is it? But yeah. What can I tell you? It's been a very interesting career, I must say. And great to hear and know people like Joanna and Leo, you know, old school family, circus traditional people. I mean, it's fantastic. You know, that's tough work, being a proper circus clown. You know, with all the makeup. I've done a few. I've got a few characters where I do whiteface, but mostly it's just the manic derision of me, my kind of personality. So, you know, teased up hair, wild stuff, just gives you the liberty to do whatever you want, which is what clowns have always done. You know, we sit at the right hand of the kings, and we can comment and say what we want and do what we want to all of these people who are taking note of what's going on.
Chris,
Yeah.
there is Tatiana who has a question for you. Would you like to
Oh, great.
hear it?
That's why I like questions. I'm much better with those.
Hi. You just mentioned that you had several characters. I was interested if you would like to share something about your clown personas, or one favorite of yours, or less favorite, or
Do you know what? That's a kind of split answer. I mean, I've got two answers to that, and they're quite opposing. Because I love the freedom of the manic, anarchic clown that is kind of just me with my hair teased up. But I developed a show called Eric the Fred about 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago now. And that is a really beautiful, silent, white-faced clown. And, you know, I transformed from that teased up wild guy into a bald white face and put the makeup on. So, I mean, that's a really nice contrast to have, to start a show with that wild guy having a breakdown and transforming from teased up hair to being a bald white-faced clown. Yeah, I like Eric the Fred. Is he's really sweet and harmless. Yeah, doesn't hurt people. Great, I love questions because they're easy to answer.
There's
If I have to think of stuff, it's like
David Lichtenstein, you wrote something quite interesting. Would you like to ask a question directly?
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
There's someone, David Lichtenstein, who he did write something quite interesting into the conversation. So I was just seeing if he would have liked to ask you directly a question.
Oh, okay. Oh, I could juggle. No.
Or maybe someone else has a question.
I could put posted things on my face. Remember to grow up. No.
Yeah, I have a question, Chris.
Good.
David said you and Leo Bassi are two of the greatest troublemaking clowns I've ever seen. And why is making trouble a good thing? Why do you like making trouble? And if so, why?
I don't think that's the intention. It's more being provocateurs, you know, which is that's exactly what court jesters always have been. You know, we're provocateurs. It's like hitting the spots that that people are afraid to go to, And I think that's what the essence of clowning and fooling is, really, is being able to dance on, you know, dance on people's graves, dance on the king's head, you know, being able to mimic the authorities and push people into thinking that, oh, and creating that fear, you know. Fear is a great aspect of clowning, you know. Just I mean, I know it's probably not a great thing to tell somebody like you know, like Oliver, you know, to create fear in hospital wards where someone's, you know, about to croak or something. But, you know, maybe, I don't know. I haven't got it. You know, I'm still trying to work it all out, clowning. I've only been doing it 52 years, so I don't really know how to do it. I'll just make it up.
There's another question for you, Chris from Priscilla.
Hello. You had said that street clowning is fun and good, and it's a good learning. I think you said something like it's more immediate, and like, you know, people can respond quicker if you're being funny or something like that. Is that kind of what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess
It's more immediate, you know, street clowning.
More immediate. Yeah. Do you find that maybe limits like the type of clowning you're doing, whereas like it's more physical slapstick and less talking, like I do stage stuff and cabaret stuff, and then I do street roaming, and I love them both, but you know, I feel like, yeah, you can verbalize more, like more people are listening when you're on stage, obviously, but then I like the space that the street provides. And do you find that you need to like copy or mimic like a bystander to create some slapstick, or do you do the slapstick on your own? Sorry, that's
both.
a lot of questions.
Yeah, no, both. I mean, that's the great thing about street. It just teaches you to improvise and go with the moment. You know, yes, you can have routines, and that, you know, most artists do have routines, and I think it is possible. I mean, I've seen some very still, very quiet. I mean, gosh, Mac McDonald, he used to be a human jukebox, and he had a cardboard box and a list of songs on the side of the box, and he just, you know, someone would choose a song and put 50p in, and they just open the door and sing this song, you know, unaccompanied. I mean, so, you know, that's very gentle and very kind of small. It's not big, shouty kind of stuff, you know. He didn't have a microphone or anything.
So I guess
because Evelyn was saying something about having to protect different cultures and stuff. And I said, well, probably the clown is the best figure or whatever, or human, to endorse this role of protecting what is authentic. This was after a quiet conversation about AI. I'm sorry to say, I'm going to keep on my subject there, and yeah, I think that's where we've reached. I said that it could be actually, you know, also what you were saying, Hugues, Olivier-Hughes, yes, c'est ça? Yeah, all right.
Oui.
What you were saying about compassion and all this, again, you know, this is all the very large and very big responsibility for clowns, and they are they are really the most human of humans, and they are not perfect, and my worry is that going through, reaching through the machine, I'll call it the machine, you know, like looking for ideas with the help of these kind of machines or programs, you might lose the freedom of going wild, like someone like Chris, who is specialized in going wild and improvising, and it may become like from the best estimate model, it might just become the norm. And so that's why I'm not saying you shouldn't know how to use it, but I would say for art in general, keep away from the stuff and stay close to your own inspiration. Ta-ta! Yeah. So, and Danise, yeah. So but I didn't hear it actually, because they said something about you being the first Black woman in a European circus. Is that it?
Yes, yeah, that's right. When I worked on Jerry Tuttle's circus in England in when did I do that? 1992, 93, around in there. Yeah.
Oh, really?
On Jerry Tuttle Circus, right. Very interesting. And the difference, the reason I was really happy to, well, I'd love to go over there. When I found out that I was going to go and they asked me to go, yeah. But I really wanted to see the difference between the European clown and the American clown, because there is a difference, and the difference between the sense of humor in Europe, England, between the sense of humor in the States, big difference. And I did have a question for 20U8MJN. My question to all of you, if you've performed in here in the States and in Europe, my question is, how did you circumvent the difference of the different sense of humors? Because I came across a situation while I was on Jerry's show that nobody laughed at what the antics that I was doing at one point. Nobody, not to say that they didn't get it, but nobody laughed until I learned the secret. Now, I used to live in England, and all of that had gone from my head, the sense of humor and what causes laughter. And so I basically had to start all over again and, come up with how to do this. Never did until toward the end of the season on how to make people laugh. How did you, if you worked in different places like around Europe and in the States, did you come across different sense of humors, and how you came across how you handled the differences?
Unmute yourself, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you muted yourself, but we could not hear you before.
How about that?
There you go.
Great.
Yeah. So I often get asked which country is, because, it's easier to say which countries I haven't worked in around the world in my time, and which is, which audience is your favorite. And I don't have that problem, Danise. Well, it's not really a problem. Because I can't tell the difference of an audience finding stuff funny. But what I do know is that sometimes you'll do a show and exactly what you said, nobody laughs, and then 5 minutes later or the next day you'll do the same show, the same material, and they'll be falling over themselves with laughter. So I'm not convinced that there is a different sense of humor in different countries. I think it's the artist, really. It's your little funny bones that comes out to play or doesn't get out. That's my experience anyway.
Well, I did come across a difference actually, but for me, but that's just my experience, that I did come across, and I found that there is a big difference, between what's funny here and what's funny there, quote. unquote, you know, and it was
See, the
interesting.
thing is, I've usually got a gun.
Ah! No, that's funny.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Chris makes them laugh. He really makes them laugh. Like,
You must
do.
you must have been in
to laugh.
America.
I do force people to laugh, don't I, Joanna? Yeah.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, well, I think, you know, I don't know. I do believe that there are some different different types of humor in different cultures. It's humor is something you learn, you know.
That's right.
So, but I found, you know, in my modest way, with the same material, I could go internationally, at least in Europe, practically all over Europe, and but it was. I just had to change the way I delivered the thing. I could do the same, thing, but the delivery is slightly different, you know, and
Right.
you get to, well, you get to learn that just by knowing people.
Right.
But otherwise, I think, of course, all over the world, humor is something that all humans have in common. I mean, you just have to look at a baby. If you can make a baby laugh, then you can make everybody laugh. You know, I don't know if you have that experience, but the first laugh of a baby. The first time when my brother came with his young son, who was only a couple of months old, and I didn't have much experience with babies. I didn't know anything about babies, and I was playing with it. And one day it burst out laughing, and it really frightened me. It frightened me, and I thought, oh, he understands a joke. And that means it goes to the core. It goes to the core of we all carry this this ability of seeing the funny side of something, and all over the world, you know. So, but as I say, it's of course I won't joke with a baby the same way as I would joke with an adult, but maybe it's just the delivery is different.
Right. That's good. That's good. Never thought of that.
There's Barnaby asking, in terms of my experience in the hospitals in Canada, Brazil, and France, for example, how the clown was received. And I could see that the culture around what is a clown was so different. And having the notion of a party clown, a circus clown, but especially a party clown in Canada was like on the first stake for children, for parents, and the notion that clowns are for children. And then I had the experience many times. I would arrive in a room in a pediatric hospital in Montreal, and kind of the children would be like, great, there's a clown, we can go out, go for a coffee. That's not for us. That's for the child. And when I worked in Brazil, then in their circus, the clown is kind of making intermission between numbers by speaking nonsense. And so the adults really enjoy, and they enjoy the audience will ask questions, and the clown will just improvise completely foolish answers, and they're delighted with that, or they're going to start singing their answers. And so I was very struck when I arrived in Brazil that when the clown would arrive, all the adults will gather around the clown to ask him questions or ask her. And the children kind of like, hey, I want to see, I want to be part of it. So it's completely different. And then in France, where like clown is part of the culture, it's like classical music. And so there is like this reverence to, wow, there's a clown. Oh, you're going to have like a moment of culture, my son, my daughter. So it was, again, a very different take about like what a clown is there for in a hospital. If
Wow.
that's you need to hear more about your question?
Sorry?
Danise, would you like to hear more around your question about how to
Oh
adapt?
no, that you guys, you did it up right. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice. Wow.
I'm muted. Maybe this is a good segue into closing, as we'll have another session starting here in about 15 minutes. So I don't know, maybe we can go around and each person can end with any closing remark, like a sentence, 2 sentence, anything they want to leave in the room with the group. And then I can go ahead and share what's coming up next and all of that. So yeah, how about like a little closing round, and then we'll flow from there.
I'd like to say that keep it up, every last one of us. Clowning is important because as you all know by performing that, to use James Capra's title of his movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I absolutely love it. And remember, to be a clown is to be a poet, an ambassador, and an orangutan.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Well done, Danise. Yeah, I'll just say it's been a life and good to see you all and keep this stuff. This is a great, I think this might be the first, is this the first Clown Virgins year?
Yes.
So is this going to be an annual thing? Anyway, I think it's great. And the amount of stuff you guys have got going, I mean, there's actually in Bristol a clown, a similar kind of thing, but in real life, they've actually got one happening. And I think that this, for me, it would be, I prefer people, because this is the same world as what we're talking about, what Joanna was talking about. There's AI, you know, look at us, we're in tiny little boxes on the screen. It's really hard. I mean, it reminds me of what was happening in lockdown. I mean, I had a few gigs where, because you couldn't go out, and this is, you know, this is where all of this kind of stuff started, was, you know, that was the only way of communicating with people and getting gigs. And this is how we were. And for quite a few years, businesses have been using this medium to meet each other and talk around. But I like to smell you. I like to smell you. So come around and let's smell each other. Bye.
Shall I also kind of say something?
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
I wanted to well, I mean, of course, I agree with Chris, and I think we all can agree that seeing each other in person is you know, completely different. And but on the other hand, just on the level of exchanging ideas and you know, and yeah, just getting to see other clowns in such a larger congregation, virtual congregation. I have to thank Barnaby for
Yes,
hard work, right?
Barnaby.
Yeah, and also Dan, who's you know, doing all the communication. Yeah, well, you know. Yeah, well, let's say I agree with Chris that we got used to this, but I mean, you know, it just depends how much time you use on this kind of thing. You know, people were afraid of TVs. People were afraid. Like Circus was afraid of cinema at first, and then of TV, and that over the time. These the public knows how to share its time and how much it wants virtual and how much it would like because as a matter of fact, as I was saying, the clown scene in Berlin, where I live, is growing, and there's a real big need to meet. And maybe a few years back, all these clowns would not meet, you know, and there wouldn't be all the Zoom sessions, but they just wouldn't meet because they didn't know how. So now we feel that we have to see each other, so we do a clown cafe, and we, you know, and we do get together, and So, I mean, things work themselves out. All right.
Well, let's hope that's true for
It is.
what's going on in across the pond in your far off America. Ooh,
Yeah.
scary times. But yeah, thanks for everybody to show up. Otherwise, we'd be just talking to each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, all of you. It's very humbling for me, as I'm not coming from a traditional circus family, not coming from any traditional clowning lineage, and but receiving all of this, which is for me to bring it into healthcare context, to bring new functions of the clowns that the circus families have already created more than a century ago, of visiting people in hospital, and so it's a beautiful legacy. Thank you so much.
There ain't no place I'd rather be. You're lighter than the sun and the stars to me. Everybody's family at the Clown Virgin.